All right, our first bit of discussion this week has to do with audience, which is also touched in on our other large discussion area, and informative speaking. Now, to do this, you need to look at the readings for this week so you have a full understanding of what the textbook's talking about as far as audience and informative speaking goes. But after that, it gets a little bit, well, I don't know if we could say easier, but certainly there's some practicality built in this. The other thing you need to read this week will be the Speech 1 instructions that you can find right there off the content page. So what you'll want to do, or what I would like you to do for this written discussion post, following our written guidelines as per the syllabus, is to write up 2 to 3 topic choices for our first speech of the semester. Now, this is a speech on community concerns. And in order to do that correctly, you need to really think about our own community. There are a few things we can assume about our classmates. Number one, you're all UWM students. Nobody in the class is a student at any other institution. So we're all studying here. You're all tied to the university. Other than that, we know that most everybody lives in Wisconsin. Most of you are from somewhere near the area. But if you want a better sense of who your classmates are, go back to our first discussion of the semester, look at the introductory threads, and rewatch some of them, because you're going to get an idea of what they're concerned about. Now, there are a lot of things that constitute community concerns. And what I really would like you to do is to be very focused on your topic ideas for this. For instance, sure, global hunger is a big deal. But when you read through the instructions, you've got like 4 minutes, and we don't have enough time to talk about global hunger. And it's not really a small focused community concern. And if that's something you want to talk about, well, certainly there are some hunger issues right here in Milwaukee. We have during school lunch programs. We have before school breakfast programs for Milwaukee public elementary school students that can't afford it. We have a number of homeless issues here in the city. And certainly there are so many issues about hunger here in Milwaukee that you could find something focused right here in the institution. But it doesn't have to be hunger. It can be any number of things, so long as it's an area of concern for our smaller community. Also needs to be something you can adapt to your audience. Now, a big portion of this week's reading is talking about audience, and there's a specific portion of that I want to talk a little bit further about, a little bit more in depth, and something that I want you to be really familiar with, because it's going to come up again and again, perhaps in like an exam format or quizzes or something. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, say no more. I hope you're all picking up on this. If not, I'm saying it'll probably be on the exam. So learn it. Anyways, literal audience, target audience, and rhetorical audience. And it's a different way of looking at how audiences are figured. As the textbook says, their literal audience is literally anybody that can hear you when you're speaking. So I'm out in my backyard today, and if we turn this way a little bit, you can see some apartments, and I'm in a duplex over here, so you can see that perhaps my neighbors could come out, and any of them right now that are walking by over here or listening through the windows are literally audience members because they can hear what I'm doing. If we go out in the Central Quad or UWM and I start talking, then anybody walking by is the literal audience, though they may not be the audience I'm looking for, which is why we target an audience. And target audience is pretty simple, and you think of the audience you would like to capture. And for our speeches, these two are pretty simple, right? So your little audience will be everybody that comes into our Skype chats during your speech, right? 5 to 8 people, including myself. In the discussion forums, literally anybody that has access to our D2L sites. There's only 23 people, including myself. So it's a pretty small literal audience. And you're targeting these specific people, your classmates, so they're pretty much the same thing. But in the broader realm of discussion, when you're speaking to 200, 300, 400 people, or going out on the street corner and hawking your wares or whatever, literal and target audience gets a little bit more convoluted. And what you're trying to do in all this is obtain that rhetorical audience that the textbook writes about. That audience that buys into everything you're saying. And in a sense, this audience is a little more, well, it's a little more fake than the other audiences. Not saying that all of you are fake, but little audience is very real. We see them when we're speaking. They're right there. target audience, we have that idea in our head. We know who we would like to engage and what we're speaking about. But the rhetorical audience is more difficult because that's the audience that engages in what we're doing, that follows along with the conversation, that understands what we're doing, and perhaps takes action as a result of what we're doing. So that gets a little tougher. And I understand that. So let's think of a few examples. So let's say I'm going to throw a party. I know, I'm a wild-looking dude, right? So I'm going to throw a party, and I'm going to invite all of you. So I send you an email and very nice font or whatnot. It says, come on over to Mr. A's. I'm going to grill out, and it's going to be crazy. We're going to talk about communication. It's going to be amazing. And I'm targeting all of you who are interested in communication studies. Now, not all of you are going to show up. Plain and simple. One, you can't. You guys have busy lives. You have families. You're off doing wonderful things. Some of you don't want to come hang out with me. I get it. I'm fine, perfectly fine. You don't want to hang out with your professors, and I honestly probably wouldn't throw a party for you guys anyways. Maybe we could talk about something at the end of the semester, like grabbing coffee. But those of you that show up wanting to discuss communication studies, well, you have become my rhetorical audience. You engage me in what I'm doing. Another example that we're going to do here over the next week or two, I'm going to send out a call to all of you. I'm going to say, hey, during, for example, Wednesday evening at 8 o'clock, you can log on to my Skype session. And we're going to talk about graduate school and conferences that people can go to as undergrads. Now, I'm going to literally send that to all of you. And I'm targeting any of you who are interested in graduate studies. And those of you that log onto that Skype session with me, you've become my rhetorical audience. We're going to engage in this discourse. And one of our primary goals, and I've mentioned this in a couple of videos already, is to address the audience. It's the most important part of public speaking. I'm going to keep saying that throughout videos all through the semester. And your goal as a speaker is to get them to that rhetorical audience. You know who the literal audience is going to be. You know who you're targeting. But you have to figure out how to help these people before you become the rhetorical audience. So in addition to listing out those 2 to 3 very interesting topic choices, things that you care about, things that you were interested about, and look back at your own introductory videos if you're struggling for content. In particular, Twalander wrote about immigration reform, and a number of you commented on his thread about that, about how passionate he seemed, and that's going to make a great topic if that's the approach he would like to make. But in addition to listing out those 2 or 3 topic ideas, I want you to run through literal, target, and rhetorical audience and how you need to look at each one of those for that topic. So literal is easy, like that's these people in your class. Target's pretty simple too, but how can you help these people become your rhetorical audience, to get interested in these things that you care about? Because again, it's all about audience in this class. And then as we respond here later on in the week, well, tell them what you would tell your classmates what you're interested in as far as their topics go. Perhaps give them some guidance as to how more focused we could be with this, because big topics don't do real well in small spaces. But small topics, like feeding Milwaukee Public School children for breakfast, is a pretty simple topic to work through. Small topics work much better. And then help them out. Help them. Do you feel that what they've written about is something that they'll be able to engage you with? And folks, this is a time for honesty. Right? I understand we want to be positive and happy and sunshine and lollipops with our classmates, but that's not always the most helpful thing when we're trying to improve on these skills. So remember, it's okay to disagree with your classmates. We need to do so, I almost said disrespectfully. We need to do so respectfully so that everybody understands that we're trying to help them out, so they see a different point of view. It's quite simple. Our ontology doesn't allow us to see every worldview. We're used to everything that's happened to ourselves. We see things through different visors. For instance, look at me. I'm an adjunct professor, highly educated, white male, brown hair, brown eyes, 6 foot tall, I ride a bicycle to work. All these things color my worldview. And it is difficult for me to think through other people's shoes. So I need to be very careful about that. And we need to do the same thing when we're thinking about our topics. So please keep them Milwaukee specific or UWM specific. Nothing about what else is going on in the world. I understand there's important things happening. Certainly, we've got some hurricane issues happening right now. There's wildfires out west. For some reason, somebody always submits a topic about Cleveland, Ohio when they do this. And as much as we'd all like to move up, head to the Cleve, and hang out at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, we live in Milwaukee. And that's the sort of thing I'm looking for here today. Do let me know if you have any questions, and I look forward to reading some of your topic ideas. Next week, you'll have topic forms due, so this is a good chance for you to get some stuff ironed out before you work through that assignment. All right, best of luck, and I'll see you all soon.